Would you spend 1.5 million yuan to marry a 50-year-old woman? There are some men who might actually like a woman like me, someone without complicated ties. I could help him take on part of these loans, lighten some of his pressure. On the surface she seems very confident, but in reality the pressures of life weigh heavily on her. For better living conditions she bought a 120 square meter apartment in Hangzhou. But she still has 1.5 million yuan in loans to repay. She explained, "It's not that I don't have a house, I do. But there's still quite a bit of mortgage left. I later took out a business loan for 1.5 million. Based on his salary alone he could never afford such expenses. He originally hoped the apartment would appreciate in value. After all, between 2016 and 2019, Hangzhou's housing market was booming. But in 2019 when he finally won the lottery for a purchase permit and borrowed millions to buy, the entire real estate market collapsed overnight. At the time people used to say, if you win the lottery you've already profited. Yet now all he can do is pay the monthly interest and hope to find a partner, so that the two of them can repay the principal together later. But truthfully his real motive in finding a partner isn't to build together. He just wants to completely lie flat, retire from effort. I'm thinking if the blind date works out, I'll already have everything I need." When her date heard this he could no longer stay calm. He had assumed that since they weren't that old, they could still work hard for another 10 years. But to his surprise the woman wanted to retire right after marriage. Not only that, even though she expected him to share the mortgage payments, she wasn't willing to add his name to the deed. He replied, "If two people are together but financially everything is kept separate, then sleeping in the same bed won't feel warm." So he asked directly, "If I help you pay off your mortgage, what do I get? Will my name be added to the house? Or what?" Perhaps she was still guarded, but she emphasized she could give him what he valued most: emotional support. And that struck his most vulnerable point. Since divorcing in 2009, his ex-wife had taken the child and started a new life. For years he had not felt the warmth of a family. What he truly wanted was a partner to share his later years with. Luckily, this woman was an extreme love-brain type. "Before I turned 40, I wasn't mature at all, just a hopeless romantic. I only liked good-looking guys who were gentle, caring, and even willing to spend on me." She admitted that in the past she cared only about looks and was even willing to spend money on a handsome man who treated her well. But as she aged she realized that romance alone isn't enough. Economic stability is also essential. She reflected, "In the first half of life I thought love mattered most. But in the second half material security is more important." She was no longer a naive little girl. As an unmarried woman in her 50s, she now had very clear financial expectations. First, a man must own a home outright, paid in full as a basic guarantee. Second, his monthly income must be at least 10,000 yuan. Otherwise, how could he help her repay her 1.5 million debt? Most importantly, he must treat her like a little princess. Hearing this, her date was shocked, because her expectations were nothing like the partner he envisioned. He wanted someone simple and genuine. So he decided to be honest about his own lifestyle. "What's your average monthly spending like?" she asked. 200 to 300 yuan. "What? Only that much?" "Yeah, about 10 yuan a day is enough. 10 or 15 yuan a day is fine." She had thought her forward spending habits were unusual, but his extreme frugality was even more shocking. He insisted that even if they married, their daily expenses could never exceed 15 yuan. To save money he only traveled home during the 4 national free highway holidays each year. He proudly said, "See? I really know how to live. Every woman will love me for being this frugal." But the woman was stunned. She said she needed to spend at least several thousand yuan per month. He was upset, unable to accept what he saw as wasteful spending. Their clashing views on money created an increasingly tense atmosphere. He explained, "I need a partner with better financial conditions, because I still have over 1 million yuan in mortgage debt." She countered, "If a man is willing to help me shoulder my debt out of love, that's the best. If he's unwilling, then maybe he thinks I'm not worth it, and in that case we can't be together." At this point it was clear they had no future. Though they didn't fight, they expressed clear dissatisfaction with each other during the post-date interview. He pointed out, "That's premarital property. It has nothing to do with you. Even if you pay 1.49 million of the 1.5 million debt, the house still isn't yours. He added, I'm just an ordinary guy. Why would I risk over £1,000,000 on my future? His concerns weren't unfounded. Marriage scams are rampant these days. She, however, didn't see the problem. She remained firm in her demands, still waiting for her Prince Charming to rescue her. Some local men from Hangzhou even commented, this woman seems simple and clean, she's the type we'd want. The mortgage is a lot, but maybe we can negotiate repayments and see how it goes. Others thought, she's worth it. Both sides had their own practical concerns. But by weighing only pros and cons, they completely lost sight of what marriage and love should truly mean. How materialistic can an older leftover woman really be? May I ask, do you own a house? She questioned the male guest. In my opinion, if you have a house, then everything else is negotiable. But owning a house and a car was only the bare minimum requirement for her to even consider the match. A monthly income of 50,000 yuan was just enough to catch her attention. After all, with her beauty, like that of a goddess, she believed she could conquer any man. For her, financial status became the most important standard for marriage. I think money makes up a very large part of a relationship, she insisted. Soon after, she declared that any dowry under 1,000,000 yuan was unacceptable. Any man offering less wasn't qualified to marry her. How could someone who doesn't even meet this standard take care of my 2 younger brothers still in school? Oh yes, I also have 2 brothers. On top of financial conditions, looks and height were also non-negotiable. She firmly believed that one day a domineering CEO would fall in love with her. She could no longer stand the days of having to check price tags when shopping. Only the prince in her imagination could meet her expectations. My requirements aren't that high. For example, if I go shopping and want to buy something, I shouldn't be restricted. Besides unrestricted spending, the man should also shoulder the responsibility of caring for her parents in their old age. After all, raising a little princess wasn't easy. This is a duty every man should fulfill. To her, the 1,000,000 yuan dowry was nothing more than a gesture of sincerity. And since she was already raising a child, she insisted she could never work again. Thus, her future husband must willingly provide for her child, and both sets of parents. She justified her demands. Aside from her beauty that captivated thousands, her biggest advantage was that at 35 she had never been married. This is why she instantly showed dissatisfaction when confronted with an ordinary man who had only a car and a modest apartment. Well, just change to a bigger house, she demanded. When she learned the man's home was only a 2-bedroom apartment rather than the villa she dreamed of, she immediately raised her conditions. If he wanted to marry her, the house must be at least 300 square meters. Otherwise, how could he give her the princess-like life she deserved? Meanwhile, she proudly showed off her new phone while watching the dating show. Her old Huawei Mate 60 Pro had just been sold for more than 4,600 yuan through a recycling service. She then added, only handing over your entire income would prove your sincerity. Do you think you'll give me control of your earnings? The man replied that he would only consider doing that after marriage. For now, he could only cover most of their dating expenses. But under the weight of debt and living costs, the woman kept pressing further. So how much pocket money will you give me each month? What do you plan on providing? The man looked troubled. With a salary of only 10,000 yuan per month, he found it impossible to meet her demands. Yet she kept raising the bar, eventually asking for more than 20,000 a month. Shocked, the man asked about her own income. Of course, my income is invested in myself, she answered bluntly, refusing to give specifics. She even declared that she would never spend a cent on her partner. As a woke, independent woman, she believed investing in herself was most important. His money was also her money, but her money would always be hers alone. Realizing he could never match her expectations, the man helplessly walked away. In truth, it was her materialistic view of marriage that kept her single to this day. For older leftover women, age itself isn't the biggest issue. Only through self-reflection and reasonable expectations can they truly escape their predicament.